Man, he lost to Adriano Moraes and Renato.
Not bad.
Moicano, that ain't bad at all. But still getting knocked out.
First off, like this video and subscribe.
Okay, we're back and we're going to take a look at the prelims for UFC 283. We're going to kick it off with Shogun in his last MMA fight. This is his retirement fight against Ihor, Potieria. And we were just talking about this before we started recording. Man, I'm just going to call it like it is. This may be wishful thinking, but I think Maurício gets Ihor out of there. And it's not because I think Shogun is just so good still at this age, because obviously, you know, Father Time catches up with everybody. Okay, I'm not going to lie, man. Losing to Paul Craig the way he did was kind of bad.
He got embarrassed against Paul Craig, man.
Yeah, that was terrible.
It's just like...
Paul Craig was on a big win streak, though. And Paul Craig, you got to realize, Paul Craig also beat Magomed. So how can we hold this loss against him too bad? Then, now the loss against, the split decision loss against Ovens,
that was bad. Like, he didn't do nothing. He literally was doing leg kicks and running around.
You know, I think sometimes when these guys get this far into their career, I think all the injuries and stuff, it's too much.
It's funny you said that, because I was thinking about, before we said this, I think Shogun was beat up, 12 years ago?
I think his body,
like even,
physical body.
Like right before
Lyoto, remember he had the
Lyoto fight, because I would
ACL surgery.
I would say John Jones, but even before that, even before the John Jones fight. So he actually overachieved a lot to say he was beat up. He probably in Pride.
Yeah.
In Pride, he was beat up, had surgeries, and
I remember he had to have like an ACL surgery when he first came to the UFC. And I was like, man, how this dude gonna have a career after this? Like, what can you do? Man, it's been over 10 years and he's still been fighting.
You can tell because you just look at his body type, even his gesture. It's funny nobody talk about this, but just look at his back and stuff. You could just tell he's beat up.
You can tell his body looked tight and tense, and
then he just looked like he got the love handles and stuff.
Yeah.
He never looked like that 12 years ago.
Because there's probably certain training he can do and certain things he can't.
But that version of Shogun 12 years ago was throwing head kicks, was throwing body kicks. Man, he was unstoppable.
You know that kick does on the game, on the first UFC game, like that jump karate kick.
Ooh.
Man, he was doing that in real life.
He used to spam that.
Man, I think he did it on Lyoto Machida, and he did it on somebody in real life too. And I was like, in the UFC, I'm like, man. But then we look at Ihor, and look, he ain't a bad fighter. He is coming off a loss to Negomarianu, and he pretty much got overwhelmed in that fight.
That fight,
did he get tired?
That fight, no, he just got overwhelmed. That fight, that was one of the worst stoppages I ever seen in my life. Nikolai was in front of him, just punch him, uppercut. The referee let that go on for like a minute too late. And then he finally stopped the fight. It was like, don't stop it now, bro. Like, you should have stopped it a minute ago. Let it keep going.
Over with now.
Yeah, let it keep going. But he just got embarrassed. Like, it was just bad.
And I think I picked him in that fight, didn't I?
No, you picked Nikolai because we looked at his record.
See, that's the thing, man. When you go look at Ihor's record, it's like, man, you beat up a bunch of... I hate to say it. I don't want to be disrespectful, but... Bro, all the fights you won, you were supposed to win. Bro, look, 17-18, 0-0, 0-3, 11-5 is cool. But then look, 5-2. Bro, you were 16-2 at this point. You shouldn't have been fighting 5-2, 8-0. I mean, that's cool, but
yeah, look who he fighting against. He fighting against janitors.
Bro, 5-6, 0-0, 1-9.
And they go look at their body types.
Look, he's more athletic than those guys.
That's what it is.
And he just had more energy and he could do more things athletically. He had more athleticism than a lot of those guys. And the truth be told, a lot of those guys probably shouldn't even be commissioned to fight. Because it's like they pushing buggies or something all week and then just randomly showed up on fight night with a 1-50 record and get beat up in 30 seconds.
And a lot of them are older too. If you look at their records, one guy was like in his 40s. So you fighting somebody's granddad.
But luckily, this fight against Shogun is kind of mimics those other fights. We said all that to say that this fight kind of mimics. But the difference is the amount of
miles on Shogun body.
Well, not just that. He fighting in Brazil. It's his last fight.
That don't mean nothing.
I know, because we just saw it with Frankie Edgar. But Frankie was getting destroyed bad, though. At least Shogun had a split decision loss against Ovens. And
Shogun don't know what he want to do. If he want to wrestle, if he want to throw hands.
And that's one thing that I will say, man. Sometimes lately in Shogun's career, man, it's like he get caught in these pauses where it's like he don't know if he should throw hands or wrestle. And then he get hit, or they do something to him in the middle of him overthinking.
But sometimes he just look as if I could just take him down and just get a quick and easy win, then that'd be better for me. It's almost like he don't want to be in there.
Well, luckily this is the last fight, so we don't have to worry about none of that. I think the energy for this been the last fight in Brazil.
Man.
They gave him somebody who was beatable.
You gotta understand, his last win came against Nogueira. Shogun, a lot of people thought he didn't win that fight. And then before that, it was Tyson Pedro. Tyson...
We had a split draw with Paul Craig, who was on that big win streak. So, I mean, that...
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Okay,
then Tyson Pedro, Tyson had a torn ACL. He injured his knee during that fight. But his last good performance came against John Volante, Shogun. And that was, what, 2017?
I mean, that's fair.
You know what hurt Shogun?
Losing to Chael Sonnen by submission.
No. Them Dan Henderson wars he been in. He was never the same after that. And that's not including the injuries. We're not talking about the injuries. We're not talking about the mileage. He took some brutal damage against Dan Henderson.
But the fact of the matter is...
Because the point is, if we're talking about Shogun from 13 years ago, I can put money on him and bet for him to win. But we're talking about, how old is Shogun?
I'm going to ask you this, dude. Who's more dangerous, Ihor or Offense St. Peru? I'm just going to ask you a simple question. Hold on. I'm just asking.
OSP.
I'm still going with Shogun. Because if he lost a split decision against OSP, he should at least win a split decision against Ihor in Brazil in his retirement fight. I'm picking Shogun. I'm not saying it's the right decision, but I just got to believe that he can pull this off. Oh, it's definitely low confidence.
All right, yeah.
100%. Man, Shogun could go out here and get beat up in 10 seconds, for all I know. Because he now does fit the description of those people that we was talking about.
It's kind of hard for me to make a prediction because Shogun's older, he's beat up, he has a lot of miles on his body.
But
then Ihor never really proved himself in the UFC because he's 0-1. Well, I guess he got that one win on the Contender Series, but... That really
even don't count. Then, I wasn't overly impressed. I've been watching Shogun for a long time, man. I think Shogun has what it takes to win at least one more.
I don't. This is a low confident pick, but I think Ihor gonna win this one. But then again, if it's a split decision, then I mean,
oh yeah, if it's any type of either or, they've done it before in Brazil. This was Rousey versus Beth Correia, and they gave it to Shogun. So Shogun got a good track record of winning decisions, and as long as we can make it 15 minutes, because you got to realize the way Paul Craig beat him. Ihor don't fight like that. Ihor cannot do any of those things unless they 1-0 or 0-40.
Shogun just beat 40. Him, man.
Yeah, I know, but man, I'm gonna give it to him this last one, man. This, isn't one more, man. And then we're gonna move on and take a look at Gregory Rodrigues, aka RoboCop, versus Brunno Ferreira. Man, I gotta say this. I was looking at Brunno Ferreira's fights on YouTube. I ain't never seen this before. He picked the dude up with a double leg, and while the dude was in the air, Brunno put his own leg out in front of him and then hip tossed the dude while he was already picked up in the air and slammed him. I was like, this dude got the right nickname. Hulk versus RoboCop. This is crazy. I will say this, man. Gregory just went to war recently. But the reason why I'm not concerned about that fight is because Brunno does not fight the way Njokuani fights. Like the precision and the sniping type of hands that Chitty has, that's not Brunno's style. Now, if you look on Brunno's record, he got a lot of finishes, and he's so strong. He pick people up, slam them, and once he get them to the ground, man, he just pass guard and
do whatever he wants.
You know
who he kind of fight like a little bit?
Hold on, let me guess. Jack Shore?
He's a middleweight. He just came to the UFC. And he's Brazilian.
Oh, no, go
he
ahead.
is southpaw. Caio. Just think about it.
Kind of, except for the.
I mean, no. I don't
body type.
I don't mean 100%. I mean just the southpaw, the way he get in and out and stuff, and then he's trying to get the fight to the ground.
The difference is Caio is like taller and a more rangier fighter.
He fight rangier.
But Brunno is more shorter and stocky and powerful. And his striking it's different, man. It ain't bad, but it's different, man. But Brunno, obviously, his biggest strength will be getting this fight to the ground and then trying to pass guard at advanced position. But unfortunately for him, Gregory Rodrigues is going to beat him up on the feet. And then, unless that cut opens up again, but I expect Gregory to beat him up on the feet. And Gregory's ground game is ridiculously good, man, and people sleeping on it. And we saw that, man, even in the Julian Marquez fight. I know he didn't use the ground game to win that fight overall, but, man, when you've been in there with Jun Yong Park, Armand Petrosian, Julian Marquez, you have that crazy fight with Chitty and Njokuani. I know Brunno is good. He's a good prospect. I think he's going to do good in the UFC. Well, if they match him up correctly, because he is, he's 5'10", man, and these dudes in the middleweight, they be like 6'1", 6'2", 6'3". I think Gregory is 6'3". Yeah, Gregory 6'3". So I don't know if he even gonna stay at this weight class.
And then Brunno, if Brunno can't get the takedown, then
he gonna be in trouble.
He's in trouble because
he got to eat punches to even get in, and then Gregory's ground game, like Brunno's ground game, ain't necessarily better than Gregory. And Gregory been proving all his skills in the UFC. And ironically, we know Gregory have certain skills, and he don't even use all of them. He don't even go into that bag like that. Like, he could have submitted Julian, but he just knocked him out. He probably should have been hunting submissions more and takedowns against Armand, but he kept the fight standing up.
They gave Gregory Rodrigues Brunno just for him to get a quick victory. I understand, like, Brunno, if he can get the fights to ground, he has a chance. But even if you do take down Gregory and get in full mount, he can't stay in full mount. Does it make sense?
Yeah, and I don't think he got the cardio to just keep up with Gregory for 3 rounds, bro. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Gregory, he's literally had wars. Like,
yeah, Gregory is one of the type guys. He's gonna be in the top 10 real soon.
And then Brunno's hands ain't as dangerous as Armand or Julian or Chitty. So I gotta go with RoboCop here, man.
Yeah, it's an easy one.
Unless he get hit with one of them bombs and that cut open up, in which case that could be kind of crazy, but I don't think that should happen. So what's your final pick?
He's taking this fight on short notice, and it's just he's not even ready to be in the UFC right now. He looks like he's like 2 years away from to be in the UFC.
Yeah, if they match him up right, man, even after this, they're going to have to match him up right, man. And
this, I don't know why he did this. This is going to really hurt his career, but, I mean, it's easy call for Gregory. It's a high confident pick.
Man, look, I've been high on Gregory, man, for a long time. But another fight, man, that somebody probably going to get steamrolled is Thiago Moisés versus Costa. Man, I watched as many fights as I could on Costa. I didn't find not a single fight that impressed me, man. Now, he got some good jiu-jitsu. The wrestling is awful, man.
I don't think he has good jiu-jitsu. I just think he's opportunistic. If his opponent make a mistake, he can kind of capitalize somewhat.
But I saw some of the people he was fighting, like, online, and even then, when certain opportunities came up, it's almost like he couldn't even really get the submissions going. And I was like, what in the world is going on? Man, this is the thing. He's a little bit good everywhere. Like, so he's kind of well-rounded, but let's say from a scale of 1 to 10, the striking is like a 4. The wrestling is like a 2, I ain't gonna lie. The jiu-jitsu is like a 4. So when you fighting, I hate to say it, but we finna go look and see what the records look like of these people that he was fighting beforehand. I don't expect too much, but the competition actually ain't bad. But man, I just didn't see nothing that stood out, man. I'm not saying he's a horrible fighter. I just didn't see nothing, man. Unfortunately, this is the fight he got to show that he's a good fighter. But he getting Thiago Moisés that, man, people sleep on. People sleep on this dude. You can't really look at a Islam Makhachev loss or even really a Joel Alvarez loss and kind of hold that against him, because he still got wins over Michael Johnson, Bobby Green, Alexander Hernandez, steamrolled Christos in his last fight. So his hands are nice. He got a little bit of power, and he got great submissions and some good wrestling. I gotta pick this dude.
The thing is, he was losing the Michael Johnson fight up until he won in the second round with the Hail Mary Achilles lock. And the thing is, he didn't beat Bobby Green. That's one of them fights where, like, oh.
But unfortunately, at this point in Bobby's career, we can't say it because Bobby does to himself, man.
I'm saying he has a bunch of fights where it's kind of like, he might have won. It's not like he was just impressive the whole time.
Well,
other than his last fight with Christos. But then, I'm not even a big fan of Christos. I'm gonna be honest, that win is irrelevant, if I'm gonna just be honest with you.
Yeah, but then at the same time, the losses to like Joel and Islam, look at his losses. Listen to these names: Joel Alvarez, Islam, Damir, Beneil Dariush. That's what he lost to in the UFC. Let's keep it real. Thiago Moisés by second round submission.
Well, he might get first round submission, whatever. This is another mismatch, man. Like, it's just.
I mean, I'm just looking, and when you really look at these losses, man, Beneil finna fight Charles possibly for a title. Damir was probably going to be a contender at one point. He really is a contender. I know he retired, but he was going to be fighting for a contendership, like number 1 contender. Islam is a champion, and Joel kind of hovering where he kind of got to break through. He got to have some breakthrough fights, but people are high on him.
This is a winnable fight for Thiago, but only because his opponent's level.
Yeah.
But I'm not really too high on Thiago. I think he has a clear ceiling. I don't think he's good at being top 15. If I'm gonna just be honest, I don't think he can be nobody.
Yeah, but we're talking about a short notice guy.
That's what I'm saying. This is an easy win for him. But
like after this,
this, I don't have high hopes.
Oh no, I'm talking about this.
I'm only picking Thiago because his opponent here.
Oh no, I'm not picking Thiago versus
like Jalen Turner.
Oh, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Other than like a judover, he might be a judover, but
and that's like a 50-50. Yeah. But for this particular fight, oh yeah, I'm expecting nothing less than him to at least a 3-round domination if he's nice, but. After the last fight, how he just got straight to it, I expect him to do that same thing here, man. And now we're going to take a look at Shamil.
They got a couple fights on here. It's just a bunch of mismatches where...
Well, a lot of these fights are short notice because...
But even this fight may cancel like 5 times. And it's like, dang, why is it?
I don't know, man. But I'm going to tell you this. I was checking out some of the fights from Shamil. Man, I didn't see nothing that made me high on this guy. I didn't see nothing.
His biggest quality was his durability. He's not as durable as he was when he first came to the UFC.
And look, if I'm gonna be real, I just used this argument for Thiago. He lost to Sergey Pavlovich. He was never supposed to win that. Dude, why in the world is he losing to people and he getting even worse people to fight? Like, how you lose to Chris Dawkins and turn around and get Sergey Pavlovich? But anyway, for whatever reason, he got bad luck. He done fought Sergey Pavlovich, Chris Dawkins, and Curtis Blades back to back. The thing is, he looked off in all those fights. Like, it was never competitive.
You look who he beat too: the Chase Shermans, the Walt Harris, the Anthony Hamiltons, Andre. It's like, man,
people who was kind of floating around. People who, I'm gonna be real, if the heavyweight division was not as thin as it is when it comes to talent. Because outside of like the top 5 or 6 guys, a lot of those guys ain't even really worth mentioning, if we're being honest. He fought a lot of those guys who really was hovering outside of the top 10 and top 15, which that's very far away in the heavyweight from being at the top of the division. So he might as well have been fighting the number 50 heavyweight. You know what I'm saying? Because it really ain't no difference. And he didn't look good, man. I mean, even in his wins, you got a split decision over.
So my
Walt
biggest
Harris.
issue with Shamil is he's a lay and pray type of fighter. And he's just trying to score points. That's cool, but at the same time, that's only going to work at a certain level. You can't do that to Curtis Blades. You can't do that to none of these guys. No, Sergey, some of these guys you can't even take down. That's why it's kind of hard to pick him, because he only can fight a certain type of way against a certain type of opponent.
And I got to be honest, man. For you to be able to use your wrestling against people at a certain level, you got to have hands. Now, obviously, a big dude that's weighing 258 pounds, if they hit you clean, it's lights out. But I'm looking at all these losses, and bro, your power didn't affect these people at all. I mean, against Chris Dawkins, he had moments here and there, but man, Chris Dawkins obliterated him. And then I hate to say it, but the hands are slow. When he uses his jab, it's cool, but his hands are so slow. It's like, oh my goodness. Now I will say this though, he got a good uppercut. And if Jailton dives in on a takedown and he don't set it up,
which he won't.
It depends on how serious he takes Shamil, because sometimes. You know, sometimes people just dive in on it just because.
But Jailton don't do that. He gets people against the cage.
Well, he throw that front kick and then he'll, you know. Yeah. But if Jailton, I'm just saying, if Jailton's not careful with the takedowns, the 2 punches that I actually saw Shamil have that's good low key is a jab when he used it and an uppercut. And he almost caught Chris Dawkins with it. I think he did catch Chris Dawkins with it.
And this is something nobody talks about. I'm not a big fan of Jailton fighting against heavyweights because he's a natural light heavyweight. Or a natural big light heavyweight. But the thing is, my point is, what happens if Jailton fights a big heavyweight who he can't take down?
But as far as this fight.
But he's fighting Shamil, a big heavyweight who he might not be able to take down.
Because that's 258 pounds.
Yeah, because you got to say, is he cutting down? How much you weigh? 258?
So he got, you think he's cutting down?
No, he's 258. If he was 265, he'd probably be cutting down. But he's 258. But it's still a big guy, and he normally doesn't lose with people taking him down. What's his takedown defense?
Yeah, he normally actually get beat up with the hands first, and then but I ain't gonna lie though, Curtis Blades definitely wrestled the mess out of him, man. Wrestled the lights out of him.
Let me see what his takedown defense. Shamil's takedown defense is 47%.
Yeah,
I think that's a small sample size though, because he's a wrestler. Opponents
Shamil been in the UFC for a long time at this point, bro. That's several UFC fights. Look at this.
Oh, Curtis took him down 5 times.
He been in the UFC since 2015. That's his percentage, bro. He going down.
But yeah, man, this is just a mismatch. This is just an easy one for Jailton.
Look, takedown accuracy, bro. 75%. Submission average 3. Second round submission for.
But Jailton, he's talking about his striking and how improved his striking is. This might be the fight to where we can see a little bit more of his striking. You got to understand, it gets worse from Shamil. You got to understand, what fight would be the best fight to show your hands? You don't want to go in there against Chris Dawkins or somebody who's more dangerous. You don't want to let that be the first fight where you start showing your hands.
Well, you don't want the first fight to be when you forced to. Does that make sense? Like, you don't want it to be, I can't get no takedowns. I got to stand up with Derek Lewis. Oh, gosh. Yeah. What am I going to do? But for this fight, they gave him somebody he should be able to handle this guy.
Yeah, this easy call.
Look, Shamil is a big guy, and 258 pounds is a lot of weight for anybody to be moving, especially if you are not a natural heavyweight, and you should realistically be cutting down to light heavyweight. But the reality is, Shamil has so many holes in his game, and he's been in the UFC for so long that he's had too many opportunities to improve the holes in his game. But he's had too many opportunities and too many fights where he could show improvement if he was improving. And I just can't pick him, bro.
But no, he's just a mid-tier fighter.
And realistically, it ain't even that because he's fighting Jailton. Dude, if Shamil was fighting almost anybody, I probably would have to be picked, unless he's fighting, what's the dude that lost 6 fights in a row? The heavyweight. Jared. Unless you fighting Jared, I'm probably going to pick the other guy. If it's against Shamil, this is high confidence. At the very least, it's mid.
At the highest.
Yeah. Look, Jailton should go in there, front kick him, get the fight to the ground. Don't rush it. Get the fight to the ground and just try to get him out of there fast as possible. because you don't want to be doing too many scrambling sequences with somebody 258 pounds, because that weight will wear on you.
The only thing that kind of worries me is just the size of Shamil.
Luckily, he's such a not good fighter that this fight probably it should probably only last one round.
I think at the very least, even if he can't take him down, because I don't want to just
I hate to say it, but Shamil will quit sometimes too.
Dang,
if you just pour it on. So
I think at the very least, Jailton can win the decision even on the feet, where he can kind of just move around them and stick and move.
And they in Brazil too, man. So
because I hate to see Jailton just going for takedowns, not getting it, and then sometimes fighters don't get a takedown, and they start to freak out, and then they keep going for heel.
But on the Contender, he went for some takedowns, and that fight was kind of back and forth in the beginning with the scrambling. Even when he was on bottom, he was able to get up. Granted, that dude didn't weigh 258 pounds, but luckily he's shown some skills, man. He does this, man, so he should be able to. Okay, so now we're going to move on and look at Gabriel Bonfim versus Mounir Lazzez. I mean, these dudes low-key kind of fight similar. One aspect of their striking is similar, and that's just the hands. But Gabriel, he mostly uses hands, but the difference is Lazzez, he mixes it up so well. He throws low kicks, body kicks, head kicks. He got a great step-in knee. He got great hands. He mixes up everything, and he got volume. Man, the only fight that he really just didn't look too tight was, I'm talking about Mounir Lazzez.
I thought you were talking about the other guys. I was about to say,
no, I didn't even see that many.
He don't be throwing him many kicks and stuff.
No, I'm talking about Lazzez. But the only fight he really didn't look good in was the Warlley Alves fight. But the thing with that is, you never know what Warlley you're going to get.
The killer showed up that fight. Well, that night.
You get that good Warlley, and then you think that would show up again, and then he'd turn around and get obliterated. So, unfortunately, Lazzez just caught the lightning in a bottle Warlley that nobody else can seem to get. You can never really rely on that. But, man, his other fights, man, against Anže Lusa, he never let Anže just get in the fight, man. Like, Anže could never just really get his striking going. He was always...
But he never get his
striking. But I know Anže Lusa always does.
He never really put a trigger anyway.
I think he just won a fight in the UFC. He just finally won one against old AJ Fletcher.
And he don't have a win in the UFC either. So that really don't count. So, I mean...
But then, man, to go 3 rounds with a dangerous Abdul Razak Al Hassan, you got to be on all your P's and Q's. All of Abdul's wins come by knockout.
Hey, you ever notice Mounir is one of those type fighters? He's kind of like Jeff Neal, because sometimes he can fight too tentative, but other times, depending on who he fight against,
he can put the pieces together.
That, and he also can get aggressive when he needs to. Kind of like how Jeff did against Vicente, he had to get aggressive if he wanted to survive. Mounir, he's like that too, because depending on who he fight against, if they get aggressive, he gonna get aggressive too. With the exception of the Warlley fight.
But he only really looked bad in one fight though. That's the thing. Yeah. He only looked bad in one fight. And
it's not that he looked bad. It's just sometimes if you watch him, he just do a little bit more than his opponent. Sometimes he can have that jab and just kind of.
But see, that's why I think he's gonna win, because Gabriel, when you look at his fights, his stand up mostly is composed of his hands. Like, I was watching some of his fights, he didn't throw no kicks. It was all straight hands. The hands looked amazing though. The hands looked amazing, but it's MMA.
You know, it's funny. We're not even talking about the best part of Gabriel's game. The best part of his game is his jiu-jitsu. That he don't really use. Like, he uses it. I noticed, like, I watch a lot of his fights. A lot of times he uses it. Like, he might stuff a takedown and then get on top of them and submit them.
Yes.
But a lot of times he don't really take them down and submit. It's so odd.
And that's what I was about to say. Like, he really used his hands a lot. Like, mostly hands.
Yeah.
But then the other opportunities come based off what his opponent does.
They make a mistake.
As a reaction to what they're doing. Like, he might create a scramble, but he's not really a double leg guy. But it's odd because his brother actually will pick you up and slam you and dump you on your head. It's just funny how but his brother don't really use his hands as cleanly as he does. So it's kind of funny how they work. But, man, I just expect Mounir to have more weapons standing up. And with Gabriel not really being a wrestler like that, but having great jiu-jitsu, I don't really know how he gonna get the fight to the ground. And I just think Lazzez will do that thing where he just kind of does a little bit more than you do. Like, he'll do more than you, but if there's an opportunity for a finish, he'll go for it. But I don't necessarily know if he'll be able to finish Gabriel. But I just think that for 3 rounds, he should just be able to do enough for 15 minutes.
Yeah, and I think with Mounir, like, he throws a lot of straight, quick attacks.
Yes.
Like straight, like jab,
and fighting from
punch,
range,
and the front kicks too. He loves the front kicks, man.
And step in knee.
And notice Gabriel, he has a real good jab, but sometimes he throws wild hooks, which he kind of keeps his hands up. It's weird because he's technical, but I think Mounir is going to be able to connect more, if that makes sense. Because it's going to be a quicker attack.
I think we watched some of the same fights because I know exactly what you're talking about. Like, he keep his hands up, but when he misses big. And his opponent...
He's not going to be able to land them punches.
What was that tall guy? Did you watch the fight with the tall guy that just kept circling? Now, Gabriel ended up getting him with...
the guy who was 6'5"?
That super tall dude.
Waters.
No.
Not Waters.
No, not on the Contender Series. This was... it was just in some little...
I know you're talking about.
That tall guy, man. I think it was this guy. It was this guy.
I know you're talking about, yeah.
It was Cordero. It's like whenever Gabriel missed, he missed real big. But then the thing, I'm gonna tell you something else.
That's the last thing. He hurt too, right? Didn't he hurt him with a punch?
Who?
The guy you talking about, the tall guy?
Did he hurt Gabriel?
No, didn't Gabriel hurt him? Because Gabriel hurt one of them guys. He was tall and he hurt him. It was like, dang, he landed. Because he got some power.
And I'm gonna tell you, this is the last thing. It's like he won't really do nothing. Like, he'll just hunt you down and he won't really throw a lot. No leg kicks, not even a jab. Like, he literally has to close all the distance before he throws any type of strike. And it's just too tentative, man. It's just too much waiting on the perfect sequence and waiting for the perfect scenario before you do what you do. But basically, Lazzez is a workhorse. I got to go with the workhorse, man.
I'm not going to say a workhorse, but he could work more than Gabriel. He don't have a reputation of being a workhorse.
I'm saying he's moving around, lateral movement, in and out. Yeah, I'm saying. Not grappling wise.
Sometimes he don't let his hands go too, man. And
a lot of times he don't have to because he fighting that distance. He fighting that range, and he controlling the fight with his jab and his front kick and his kicks. I mean, why would you do more if you don't have to? But he can basically be working for 15 minutes and just win.
We saying all this stuff about him. He landing 7.4 strikes per minute. Mounir. We were saying all this stuff about him being inactive.
Who was weak? I'd say he was a workhorse.
I guess he just had some fights where I just felt like he could do a little bit more.
I mean, I would like to know what fight you talking about in particular, because the fights I saw, he never stopped working, really.
I guess it was the Abdul fight.
And even in his other fights, well, you got to look at this Abdul, man. Look at how... you just think about it. Yeah. You have to be so defensively sound and so sharp. And sometimes you might have to kind of pull back on throwing as many strikes because you can't make no mistakes. We saw that last night with Abdul.
But tell you one thing, but if Mounir try to take him down, because he do have takedowns in his arsenal, that might be the end if he try to take down Odu, because he's designed to stuff takedowns and get on top of you and finish you. So Mounir got to be real smart. He got to fight a certain way, which he can.
I did see some fights, man, with Mounir. The stand-up wasn't going his way, and he started trying to like force grappling exchanges, and it just looked... He didn't look bad. No, it was before the UFC. He didn't look bad on the ground, but it just seemed like maybe you should stand up and just finish this fight there. Now, he ended up winning that fight by TKO, but I don't know, man. I started just thinking, yeah, let's keep the fight standing up while we build the ground game up. Yeah. But he should win here at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, strikes. Yeah, he landed 7 strikes a minute. That's a lot. Gabriel landed 6. Surprisingly, now this is surprising to land 6. Let's see here. Now we're going to move on to Luan Lacerdai versus Cody Stamann. For some reason, I was getting Cody Stamann mixed up with Casey Kennedy. But, man, we get to Luan. Man, very impressive, man. 12 wins, 10 by submission. Only 1 submission loss. That was in 2014 from a knee bar. That ain't something you see every day.
That's a Hail Mary type of thing, too.
Right. He got a win over Warlley and Paiva by submission. But I know that was 2015. But that says a lot, man, because Warlley been in the UFC. And, well, of course, he would get to the UFC and get 2 losses by a stoppage. But Paiva is a tough guy, though. He been in there with Kyler Phillips, a whole bunch of people. And it ain't like everybody just putting him away like that. So, but at the same time, this was early in their career. And then we get over here to Cody Stamann. And, man, I noticed this. So he's good record, man, actually. To say that he had really just lost 3 in a row. His record is still solid. He got 20 wins, 7 by KO, 2 by submission, and 11 by decision. That means he can wrestle you for 15 minutes and get a decision. But this is what I found interesting. Why in the world do you lose to Jimmy Rivera and then you turn around and they make you fight Merab, who's higher ranked? Then you lose to Merab and then they give you Saeed. Man, Saeed hit an Injustice Mortal Kombat finish on him. Yeah. Like, didn't he rock him with a spinning kick or something? And then turn around and guillotine him so fast. It was just shocking. It was like, what just happened? And then, I hate to say this, bounce back last summer with a win over Eddie Wineland. I'm sorry, man, but knocking out Eddie Wineland in 2022, that ain't that much of a shakeback for me. I know that's good for his record and for confidence and everything like that. But, bro, you supposed to knock out Eddie in 1 minute, man. Eddie was a WC champion, man. That was a long time ago, bro.
The one thing that stands out with Cody is if you look at his level of competition of people who he beat, He really haven't really beat nobody who was elite.
I don't know, man. Brian Kelleher, he had a draw, and then Yadon Son, that was a draw. Alejandro Perez, that's kind of solid. You know that. I mean, I don't know, man.
But none of these guys elite though, man. And none of these guys.
Yeah, but then because when he fought Aljamain in 2018, he got knee barred real quick. But okay, but how does he match up with Luan?
It's hard to say because Luan don't have a fight in the UFC.
And not even on the Contender Series. Not even like a little decision, you know, to see how they move for 15 minutes. So now let me go.
He kind of remind me of, what's the guy named who Drew Dober punched him in the body and TKO that Brazilian?
Alves.
Yeah, he kind of remind me of him. But he's so aggressive with his submissions.
That's the difference. This dude is like a boa constrictor. Like once he gets you on the ground, you can just see him squeezing his legs around his opponent and just taking the life out of them. It's funny because whenever he's in any type of grappling exchange, he looked for any opportunity to start latching onto a submission. And I hate to say this, man, but the way Cody lost to Saeed, which I know a lot of people can't replicate what Saeed does, but the way he lost, man, to say that you had that many fights in the UFC and you got starts like that, man.
Not even that, but if you go look at his opponents, the people who beat him, a lot of them were able to out-grapple him and keep taking him down.
Cody?
Yes, because I was like, I thought he was a wrestler, even though he is a wrestler.
Me too.
But then I went and looked at UFCstats.com, and I was just looking at, hold on, a lot of these guys have really out-grappled him. He's been taken down multiple times by like some of his opponents who beat him, surprisingly.
And I'm looking at the record, man, and Luan, he got some decent wins on his record, man. Like,
hold on, Marab took him down 5 times.
But we know how he fight.
Jimmy Rivera took him down twice.
We know how he fight, though, too.
Let me see. Alessandro took him down.
Wait, who?
Alessandro
Perez?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm telling you, man, he's been taken down. Brian Caraway took him down.
But that's
Aljamain Sterling. They're all decent guys, but more so than what I thought was. I thought he was a solid wrestler with one of them 100% takedown defense.
That's why I kept thinking that was Casey Kenny.
Oh.
And then I'm like, well, wait a minute. Nah, this is two different people.
But Cody more well-rounded. Like, he's good everywhere. He one of those type guys.
But Casey more consistent with what he does.
Yeah.
Man, I'm sorry, man, but I kind of want to pick Cody in this fight, though. I just don't see you losing to somebody making the debut.
He's the UFC veteran. He's the favorite. You know, so I mean.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I don't see him necessarily. I can see how he could lose, but I just, from a career standpoint, it would be very disappointing to have this many UFC fights against the level of competition. Bro, he been in there with the champion, Brian Caraway, Perez, Jimmy Rivera, who was undefeated at one point in time, supposed to be fighting for the belt and everything like that. Marab, who arguably is 1 or 2 fights away. Saeed, who probably will fight for a title. Eddie Wineland, who I know that fight don't age well, but Eddie was a former WC champion. But it's like, bro, if you go in there and get beat up by somebody who making their debut, man, I just don't know.
I disagree with that because they all made their debut at some point. I'm picking Luan on this one. I'm looking at the takedowns. This dude's strong. If there's opportunities to go for it, I don't think he can finish Cody, but I think he can dominate him on the ground. Because Cody really ain't that susceptible to being knocked out. He's been susceptible to the ground.
One thing I'm noticing, man, is the amount of time in between all these fights. Bro, he fought once in 2018. I'm talking about Luan. He didn't fight none in 2019. Fought once. I know this was COVID at this point, so I give him some slack. For 2022, he fought once. For 2021, he fought once. For 2022, he fought once. I'm like, what's going on with that? Like, is there a reason for that? Or, I'm gonna tell you something, man. I watched a video on this dude. He trained at Nova União with Jose Aldo and them boys. He might run through Cody.
I don't know, man. It's tough. I think.
But I can see Cody running through him too, man. But I'm gonna tell you this. Standing up, bro, this dude got too much power. And I'm going to tell you something else. On the ground, he's just too dangerous. That's going to be a cloud over Cody, man, the way he got starched up like that against Saeed. Because in these other fights, like you said, you got out-wrestled by these dudes, and they're not even aggressive with submissions. So just add the wrestling that you mentioned with this type of submission threat. He might get submitted, bro. Cody might get submitted, man.
Yeah. I'm taking Luan. This is a low confident because he hasn't proven himself in the UFC. But stylistically, I think it's a bad matchup for Cody.
Yeah, me too, man.
I mean, Cody's favorite. He's expected to win this fight. And then he's aggressive. And mentally, he's one of those guys who's trying to get the finish.
And they in Brazil, so he's going to be hungry trying to get that W, man. I'm going to say this. If Cody didn't lose the way he did to Saeed, I might not be so harsh on him. But boy, that took me by surprise. When we watched that live, I just couldn't believe it. Maybe because I thought that was Casey Kenny. That might be the biggest reason I couldn't believe it. But the next fight is going to be Ismael Bonfim versus Terrance McKinney.
See, I disagree with you because I think Ismael is the brother who does little to nothing. I watch his fights. He'd be inactive for like 2 or 3 minutes in a row. not doing anything, and then he'll walk forward and he'll do feints, and then he'll go right back. And it's like, hold on, what are you doing? You went forward just to go back. It's like, man, what is going on?
Well, let's look at the record. He got 18 wins, 3 losses. Out of the 18 wins, 8 are by KO, 4 by submission, 6 are by decision. He got 3 submission losses. This is the first reason I believe that when it's all said and done, Terrance is going to submit him.
Yeah, that's what I think too.
I know the submission losses was Renato Caneto. Who in the world?
Hey, that's another thing. I looked at Ismael. Look who he lost to.
Oh my goodness.
And look at the
Adriano Morais.
And Jefferson. Look at Jefferson.
Whoa.
And yeah, exactly. He beat Demetrius Johnson. And look at Jefferson's record.
Dude.
Jefferson 2-0. And Jefferson retired. Jefferson's 2-0, and his last fight was in 2011, but he was undefeated. So it's like he never lost to no scrub.
And at the time, Bonfim himself was only 1-1, so it was fair at the time. They was both, just under 3 fights or whatever. Man, he lost to Adriano Morais and Renato.
Not bad.
Moicano, that ain't bad at all. But still getting knocked out at the end of the day. He's still finna get knocked out. No. That's great and everything. I was looking at the contender fight, man.
I don't think he get knocked out, man. I don't think Terrance.
I'm gonna say submission.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna say this, man. Ismael, one thing I like about him, like when he fight though, you can tell he's fighting to win. And this is one thing that kind of concerns me, man. Terrance makes head scratching decisions sometimes. Now, luckily, he only lost 1 fight recently, and that was a short notice fight where he was winning and he gassed. So that ain't bad. But
it's only one thing, man. It's weird because he has great takedown defense too. So it's like Terrance McKinney, he might have to hurt him first and then submit him.
And that's what I was thinking, because you don't want to dive in too fast on the wrestling, because Bonfim is a strong dude, man.
The only thing is, didn't he do that against Ziam? You remember
Ziam, yeah.
Yeah, you remember the fight started and it was straight off an 8-second knockout. No. You remember he went and dived for a leg real fast? But
remember, he almost got reversed too. Remember that part though? And I didn't like that, man, because luckily what won him that exchange was the fact that he was more athletic and stronger than Perez. But also, even when he fought Eric Gonzalez, it was certain moments in that fight where it was like Terrance had to get that fight to the ground.
Eric caught him with a straight left. It looked like he kind of
I didn't like that, man. And obviously the Drew Dober thing was short notice.
The only thing is, like, I didn't like that too at the time. But I went back and watched the fight, and that was really the only mistake he made. After that exchange, he took him down and finished him.
But I'm gonna tell you something else. Another reason I don't really hold it against him too much is because we did this when we looked at the predictions for Eric Gonzalez during that fight. That's how Eric win a lot of his fights. Like, he got to make the fight a certain type of way, and then that's when he sneak in and he hit you with stuff unexpectedly. So, but Terrance got to be careful against Ismael, man, because Ismael does this weird thing with his hands where it's so weird, man. It's like he's in and out. It's like his hands are a little bit low, but his boxing is good. But it's almost like he knows how to box. He just chooses to strike a certain type of way in MMA. Like, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, his striking looks good, but it could obviously be much cleaner. But it's like he's choosing to fight like that for whatever reason, and he's kind of in and out. You know, his striking actually remind me of, it's like an in and out version of somebody else that's on the card on the prelims. Daniel Marcos liked to fight. He liked to fight inside and duck under and come up with hooks and stuff. Yeah. But Bonfim liked to go in and out and kind of dip in and go to the side and kind of load up on punches like that. But I expect Terrance to go in and win this fight, man. I just don't see Terrance been doing so good. But one thing I don't like, Terrance got this thing where he just think he got to get first round finishes, and it's like live by the sword.
I don't think it's a bad thing. It's only a bad thing when you're not picking your shots.
But sometimes he moved too fast. Like, think about it. Even when he beat Matt Favola, he was doing so much. He tweaked his knee after he just won. And it's like, bro, you got to slow down sometimes, man.
I mean, he can still get, he ain't got to get the first round finish. He can get a second round finish.
But I'm just saying, it's like his mind is moving so fast. Yeah. It's like, bro, slow down. That way we don't make careless decisions that end up costing you. You get in the past with the Drew Dober one.
Even with Drew Dober, he dropped him with an uppercut. And then if he would have just stood back up, after Drew stood up, if he would have just picked his shots again, he would have got the knockout.
Yeah, you don't have to throw 50 punches in 5 seconds, bro.
He threw 50 strikes and missed them.
So I just need Terrance to slow down. But Terrance got the knockout ability without having to load up on punches, good striking, good wrestling, good submissions. Just got to slow it down, like you said, mix it up, and just believe in yourself and don't try to force it. But Ismael, I like Ismael. He can wrestle. He wrestled on the contender, wrestled against a few opponents, but I expect Terrance to run.
It's different levels. You don't fight Terrance in your first fight.
Yeah, it's too much, man.
This is one of the big mismatches on the card.
It's several of them. Okay, now we're going to get down to these last 3 fights here. We're not even going to waste too much time on this one. Hey, we looking at Warlley Alves. We have not seen a good Warlley Alves since 2021. He really didn't look bad in the Jeremiah Wells fight. He just got caught out of nowhere. But
you know what's weird about Warlley Alves? If you look at some people who he beat, man, he really beat some good people. Alan Joban, Nordine Talib, Colby Covington.
Especially at the time.
Yeah, and it's weird. And
now some of these
Lazzez. And nothing thing is, I was watching the Usman fight with Warlley. And in the third round, he almost got Usman with a guillotine. It's funny, nobody even talk about that, man. It was like, he came close. This is the same guillotine.
That's the one he got Kobe with. And ain't that how Kamaru lost his only fight before this Leon fight? Didn't he get... No, the dude took his back, didn't he?
Yeah.
Okay, never.
But sometimes he has that kind of, I'm not going to say live by the sword, die by the sword type of game. But sometimes it's almost like he goes for it, but sometimes he can end up in bad positions. Like against Randy Brown, that mindset got him put in bad positions, man. And eventually that led to him getting finished. Because he actually was beating Randy Brown. He actually was winning.
Ooh, my gosh.
Yeah, that's going to be a good one.
Hell of a fight. But anyway,
Randy versus Jack
Della Maddalena.
Yeah, Maddalena.
I know that name. That's a cold boy. But anyway, like
Warlley was winning against Randy Brown, man. I don't know if he just went for the finish or not, but he ended up on top of Randy Brown and ended up getting triangle.
But to be fair, man, Randy Brown ground game didn't used to be that cold because that used to be the weakest part of his game. Oh, yeah. And then he started submitting people. Remember he submitted old boy?
They actually were saying that during the fight. They were just saying how Randy Brown say how good his striking was. Everything was like Randy Brown has good striking. He has good range. So they were all saying how Randy has to keep the fight standing. So everybody was just expecting Randy to be dominant on the feet.
Yeah.
And then the fact that he submitted Warlley, maybe Warlley didn't take him seriously on the ground.
Yeah, man, because once he submitted old boy Eric Montano, it was like, wait a minute, the ground game. So, Warlley didn't lose to bad people either, man. He lost to Brian Barberena. Hold on, let's go. Okay, Brian Barberena, Kamaru, James Krause, and for whatever, all the stuff that's going on with James Krause, James was on a big winning streak. He lost one fight that he took on short notice, remember? It was against Trevin Giles. He lost one fight.
He actually won. He beat Trevin.
No, he lost to Trevin Giles.
He lost?
Remember, he took this fight on a week's notice in a higher weight class, and he ended up losing. And it was only a split decision. So James Krause was that guy. Then he lost to Randy Brown, who was doing fantastic. And he also lost to Jeremiah Wells, who we haven't heard from him in a minute, but he's one of those dudes that might could do something in the division as well. So he ain't losing to no scrubs. Now, I got to say this. Man, Nicholas seemed like a cool guy. He been in the UFC for a minute. Seemed like a cool guy. He is one of those people, man, he might be in the top 15 of fighters who I can't stand watch the fight. You know why? His fights, I hate to say it, they're not fun to watch. They're not memorable. And ain't nothing really happening in the fights. It's almost seemed like it's the same fight over and over and over again. The only fight I really remember is him getting finished, and I think they overturned that one.
Oh, dude, he had tested positive.
That was probably the only reason he finished him, because Nicholas Dalby don't get finished.
And also, he don't have no wins in the UFC. So he was on that.
Because I thought that was odd. I'm like, man, Nicholas Dalby, he ain't one of my favorite fighters to watch, but he's not nobody who go out there and just get knocked out and submitted and stuff like that real quick.
And Nicholas fights is a whole lot of clinching and grabbing. He's on the bottom and then he reverses and then he gets reversed again. It's like a lot of those
and then standing up doing karate kicks that don't come nowhere near landing. And it's just like, I don't know, man. He's a big, strong guy, athletic guy. Hey, he 38. Man, he looked great for 38.
Oh, yeah.
Man, he do not look 38. I mean, with the beard, he look older, but if you take away that, man...
You got a hell of a strength and conditioning coach. The thing is,
for real,
we want to see more output, though.
And I want to see, I hate to say it, I want to see finishes, man.
I know he won his fight and it was controversial, but I went back and looked at the Daniel Rodriguez fight, man. I'm not saying he won anything.
He definitely didn't win that fight.
But he actually was catching Daniel, because at first I was like, it was a robbery, it was a horrible decision. I went back and looked at the fight.
It was close, but most people felt like Daniel edged it out.
You know what I'm saying? Nicholas was landing some of the harder shots.
But this the thing, man.
Because certain things like he was catching with the right hand, the head kick.
But this is what I gotta say, man. He's such a big, strong dude. You would think that he would have like knockout power. But it's so odd because even when he lands punches clean, he don't really rock people. He don't really drop people. Who else is like that, man? It's somebody else. We was talking about this a few weeks ago. Where it's like you would think, oh, what's the dude name that got cut? Remember, he lost 20% of his blood.
Oh, yeah.
What's the dude name?
The guy, Tafa Garcia.
It's like a big dude like that, Rafa Garcia.
Like you
would think that if he hit you clean, that you would just go to sleep.
He landed a bunch of left hooks, man, didn't do no damage.
And it's like people just eat your punches, and like it's almost like it ain't affecting them at all, and they walking you down.
But he also has a low output too, so it's kind of hard to say on a small sample size. Nicholas Dalby.
It ain't a small sample size. He has 2 UFC stints. He been in the UFC for 2 different occasions. Yes, he first came in 2015. That lasted to 2016. He fought Darren Till and everything to a majority draw.
I understand what you're saying, but look, he fought Claudio Silva, Tim Means, Daniel Rodriguez, Alex Oliveira. You see what I'm saying? That's kind of deceptive to say, man. I'm not saying he has a one-hit of quitters. I think he has more knockout power than what we think.
No, just
look who I just named: Claudio Silva, Daniel Rodriguez, Alex Oliveira. Like those guys are hard to knock out.
Okay, what about Peter Sabato and Zach Cummings and like you were supposed to, bro? He don't have that style. That's another thing.
Zach never been. Let me see. Hold on.
Well, up until recently, I think. But
no, he never been knocked out. Zach never been knocked out.
Oh, that's impressive.
But I'm just saying, I get what you're saying though, but we have seen him land sometimes.
The thing is, he don't commit enough to punch it. I can see if in a situation where he hit somebody hard enough to where it did some damage, he's just gonna go for a takedown, and then it's gonna be like that wrestle thing. Like, hey, the Claudio Silva fight was good because him and Claudio went back and forth until Claudio gassed, and then Nicholas is so durable. You're not just finna knock him out. You're not just finna submit him. But then again, you know who I also think is similar in fighting style? Claudio. He just fought the same fight against Claudio. Nicholas.
But they really was going back and forth too, man, on some stuff.
Up until Claudio gassed, because we know that
even in the third, like he kind of came back. He had like a second win.
Yeah, he did.
I mean, obviously he lost, but it was kind of close.
But I'm saying they're similar because like sometimes I used to get them confused because they be having the same haircut. They kind of fight the same. Warlley and Claudio. This
horrible fight, man. Horrible.
Live by the sword, die by the sword type deal. My mind knows that Nicholas is going to win this fight just because you know what you're getting from Nicholas every time.
I've watched him, man. I think Warlley, he has the power.
I'm tired of betting on it.
His knockout power ain't questionable like Nicholas.
I'm tired of betting on it though.
You might even guillotine him.
I'm gonna tell you, we talked about this in the other fights. Nicholas has a great ability to stifle and neutralize other fighters. Who else were we talking about who did that? There are certain fighters, it's almost like that's a non-physical weapon that they have.
Neil Magny.
Yeah, like, wait.
Neil can do it too. He can neutralize.
Oh, yeah, that was Neil. It's like the John Fitch thing, man, where like you don't really ever get a chance to do nothing because they got just enough striking to where you're not landing clean and da-da-da. They can strike with you enough to where they actually might start landing more on you because you don't know about the takedowns. And then before you know it, you're on your back. And I got to pick Nicholas, but realistically, I would love for Warlley to win this fight just because I know he ain't going to do nothing with it. Like, he going to turn around and lose the next fight. But
I'm picking Warlley. It's a low confident pick. He might get the finish on this one. You know, he lost the last one, right? So it's about time for him to get the finish.
Man, all the people he lost to was Brian Barberena, Kamaru, James Krause, Randy Brown, Jeremiah Well. He losing to good people. I'm going to change my pick, even though I know I shouldn't.
That's nothing because Nicholas really ain't really fought. Who was his toughest opponent he fought against? Tim Means, Daniel Rodriguez.
I'm going with Warlley.
Yeah.
But I know this is a coin toss and it's a low confidence pick. I'm going to regret it. This is going to be one of them losses on my record next week that I'm going to be making excuses because I really didn't pick him at first.
No, I'm actually picking this just to pick one. It's not high confident at all. But if I had to pick somebody, it's Warlley. But
so you don't have no actual reasoning for picking him?
No. Like if I had, no. I'm saying it's a 50-50 fight. If I had to pick somebody, it'd be Warlley.
Every Warlley fight is 50-50. That's the whole point.
I'm talking with their skills.
I'm saying you never know what you're going to get. Like, and you look at his record, win, loss, win, loss, win. He literally is a 50-50 fighter. But Nicholas, we know he can win a super boring fight 10 times in a row. I'm going to pick Nicholas, man. I'm going back. I'm picking Nicholas, man. I just don't want him to win. I would rather Warlley win, but I know he won't. Okay, now we got Josiane Nunes versus Zara Farron. I don't know how to say it. Zara Farron. I don't know how to say this without being disrespectful.
Her chin up in the air, her hands down.
Josiane's finna clean her up.
Josiane ain't gonna be able to land that left hand at will.
I'm sorry, man.
The only thing is with Zara, I went back and looked at some of her fights, bro. She got some hella power. But her technique is horrible.
Hold on, let me go see who she was beating up because she beat the dog, you know what, out of a lot of these girls.
You talking about that girl who they gave it to? They gave her a decision that she didn't deserve?
No, I'm talking about the one she finished. She beat a bunch of these women up, man. I need to see their records because it was crazy. Whoa, the records wasn't too bad for the level of experience. Okay, so around here you should be fighting 3-0. Okay, you lost to 1-0, 3-1, 7-3, 6. Okay, mixed bag, but overall increasing competition. Dog, you know what's really messed up? She had to fight Megan Anderson on her debut.
I think it was on short notice though.
And then she had to fight Felicia Spencer after that. Dude, look at all these council fights.
I think she had some bad luck, man, because I think the day before this fight was scheduled a year ago.
I was just finna say.
And then she missed weight. She was overweight like 10 pounds. And then she was fighting the catch weight at 135.
Say it again.
She was fighting at the catch weight at 135 against Josiane. And she weighed in like 147. So she was like 10 or 11 pounds overweight.
I was trying to figure out how to spell this girl's name.
And it's a Matt Nunez sister too. So
who?
I'm just playing.
I'm finna say, what in the world? Hold on. Nah, dude, this is crazy. Dude, look at this 11-pound weight discrepancy. Like, how in the world is that possible?
No, she's taking these fights on short notice. That's why, man. You gotta understand, man.
So why didn't they give her no grace for that?
I don't know, man. It'd be a lot of weird stuff going on with her, man. It's just...
Well, at the end of the day, for this fight in particular,
it's going to be the same result it would have been a year ago.
It's going to be the same thing. I'm expecting Nunez to land.
There's only one issue I have with this fight. It make me not want to pick Nunez.
I'm not picking either one of them, but
the thing is,
she beat Ramona Pascual, who was never ever supposed to be in the UFC.
The reason why I'm undecided is because the way Zara has been losing in the UFC is with wrestling. Her opponents in the UFC have been taking her down. Meg Anderson took her down. Felicia took her down.
That's a tough...
Josiane don't have that style to do that. She's a striker. So that's the one thing was kind of like, hold on, like, because it's going to be a striker versus striker match, she might have a chance to win it. Ain't no point to spend too much time on this one, man. Yeah. I'm a big Josiane,
but them first two UFC win, and I hate to say it, but even if she win this fight, it don't really prove that much. You think they making this fight to give Zara a win?
Zara,
you think they give? You think that's why they making this fight? Because
maybe
I don't.
But it's a featherweight fight, man. It's not too many female featherweights in the UFC, so I don't even think Josiane is a natural featherweight.
But then this is the last fight, which is actually going to be the first fight of the card, which I'm actually looking forward to this one. Daniel Marcos and Simon Oliveira. I'm glad they're kicking the fight card off with this one, man, because I'm impressed by Daniel. I'm impressed by him. He looked good in the Brandon Lewis fight. Shouts out to Brandon Lewis too, man. Oh my goodness.
Brandon Lewis.
The dude he fought on the Contender, this dude took an absolute beating and he was still swinging to the last second, man. He was still just looking for any opportunity. But then we saw Simon last. He fought Tony Gravely. You know, he won a split decision.
And look how he lost to Tony, man. Tony panic takedowns.
I don't think that was panic takedowns. That's how Tony fight. Like, Tony is a wrestler.
No, but Simon got the knockout power. So
yeah, I think but he never like touched Tony. If you go look at that fight, 20 seconds into every last one of those rounds, Oliveira was on his back before he could virtually do anything. But if you look at the beginning of those fights, though, he started off every round with like a flying knee or a flying front kick or something like that. But what you see in this fight?
What do I see in this fight? When I was studying this fight, I looked at Simon. I was impressed with like a lot of his multi skills. I was impressed by his submission skills.
You was impressed by the striking?
Yes.
One strike at a time, loading up, missing big. You was impressed by that?
Yes. At least he's going for it, though. I'm not saying he's the best striker, but I'm just saying I was impressed. I'm impressed by the fact that he's throwing hard.
Because he looked hungry.
Yeah, some fighters, man, like even we talking about the two brothers that's fighting. Yeah. It's like, man, just do a little bit more.
Yeah, that's fair.
But at the same time, I was really impressed. I was like, okay, I don't care who they give. I don't care who his opponent is. Before I researched Daniel, Simon probably going to win. Until I looked at Daniel. I looked at one fight and I was like, man, this guy's good.
Did you watch the Contender one first?
Yeah.
Dude.
And I'm looking at, because I was like, man, I looked at his record first and I was like, he has a bunch of decision wins. So he's boring. I looked at his fight. I'm seeing head movement. He moving around good. He blocking with his shoulders. It's like, bro, you making it look easy.
No, bro. The boxing is crisp.
And then on top of that, some kind of way, I don't know how he get the fights to the ground, but some kind of way he gets fights to the ground, and he got some brutal ground to pound. And something
he got heavy hands, man.
Because he gets people on the ground, bro. He flatten them out. Pop, 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 pop.
You know who else is dangerous on the ground? Hey, this Simon is insane on the ground. I don't know what you're going to do if this fight gets to the ground, man, because this dude, hold on, he got 18 wins, 11 by submission. Say less.
There's only one thing, man. When Simon fought against Tony, man, he was going for some Hail Mary guillotines. I think Simon one of them type people.
He almost got one or two of them.
I think Simon one of them type people like Anthony Pettis. We were talking about how they gonna kind of hold him. He's kind of hard to keep down. I'm gonna be honest. I don't think a lot of people gonna want to just be throwing hands with him either. But I think they're gonna. But he can be kind of controlled against the cage.
But Daniel, that ain't his fighting style though. Him and Tony got a distinct fighting style because he has to rely on their wrestling for everything else. But that ain't how Daniel fight, because Daniel is primarily a striker too. But the thing is, man, Simon almost locked in that first guillotine. Remember?
Yeah.
On Tony Gravely, and then there was a second guillotine he had on Tony later on in the fight, and Tony was able to work out of, but Tony got a whole bunch of experience.
I think this is one of the fights where Daniel's skills just gonna, I don't know how to explain it.
He's gonna outwork him because
I don't think he's gonna outwork him. I think he's gonna outskill him. I think he's gonna just be able to just land more and get hit less.
But that's what
make it look easy.
But that's what I'm saying, because Simon, you can see him loading up on a head kick from across the octagon. I don't really like that. It ain't like you throwing jabs and throwing a 1-2 and a head kick. Like if Simon's gonna throw a head kick, he's literally gonna load up on a head kick that you can see coming. If he's gonna throw a big right hand, you can see him almost about to spin around. If he's gonna throw a flying knee, you can see him take 2 or 3 steps before he throws it. You see what I'm saying? Virtually everything he throws, he loads up on it and he telegraphs it basically. But when I look at Daniel, he gets into the pocket, man, and he's ducking, which I will say something about that. Simon got a great step-in knee. He got a great step-in knee. And Daniel does like to duck his head a lot. Like, this ain't no boxing match. If you dip and duck to the left or to the right and somebody throw a head kick or a knee while you ducking or leaning off to the side, you can definitely get caught, and that could be trouble. The only thing is, like I said, Simon, he loads up and telegraph everything, and then he throw like 1 or 2 strikes at a time. That's why I kind of feel like Daniel gonna win, because he gonna throw more, and he's going to be more active, and he's not going to telegraph everything he throws. I got to lean more to Daniel here.
If he can keep this fight off the ground. If this fight hit the ground,
it's over.
It's over, man. But yeah, easy win.
Yeah, I'm going with Daniel.
I think he'll make it look easy too.
But I'm going to go mid-confidence, because I can definitely see ways for Simon to win. I'm just picking Daniel.
Yeah, me too.
Like this video and subscribe.